distance was 3 minutes of arc, which doesn't sound a lot, but if you're approaching a channel at an acute angle, which I'm assured does happen after last night's demonstration in the simulator, so we've recommended a minimum angular separation of 5 minutes of arc, because I'm sure there isn't any mariners in here that will cut corners to get to port safe. The second issue with synchronized lights is the timing and what we call synchronized slippage, i.e. when is a synchronized light not a synchronized light, and you lose the visual impact of having synchronized lights. During the same trial, we set 2 beacons of the same colour a distance apart and delayed one of the flashes by 10 milliseconds until all the observers felt that the impact of synchronization was lost. And this is a surprisingly small amount of time of 50 milliseconds. Now, both the results of this trial were used to, or certainly entered into a very good guideline, which I would urge you to read, which is the IALA guideline number 1069 on the use of synchronization of lights. The sequencing of lights is a slightly different topic, and our research or trials so far have suggested that the sequencing of lights is very good when it's leading away from you, but not so good when it's coming towards you. It's very confusing to the mariner when the lights are sequenced towards you. So there's definitely a need for further trials and further work there. I know the German Federal Waterways have done some experiments and lighting techniques with a group repetition index for synchronization of lights, which is certainly something worth investigating, and I think that could be the way to go. I want to talk to you a little bit now about aids to navigation as information systems, and this slide here, or the picture here, shows a prototype of what could be, or an example of a display that can give you static and dynamic information from buoys and beacons and lighthouses. The great thing about lights is that the user has a direct interface with them. There's nothing in between at all. If we can replicate that confidence in the display of digital aids to navigation on screens, and they can have as much confidence with what they're seeing on the screen as what's out the window, then I think we're on for a very robust e-navigation system. Of course, this could filter into integrated displays and show various aids to navigation information, and you could also publish meteorological data and various other data there. The important thing to consider with this is that there must be a standard data exchange or a standard data format for all this information to be displayed. And with all the abundance of the electronic information we have now via monitoring, it seems a logical progression to pass some of this information onto the user. But the information itself should be in a format that's easily exchangeable. The extensible markup language, XML, is the standard now being adopted for information exchange, where the internet would be the usual means of access. The database could be used for updating and searching more information. That was quick. Yeah. So here we have an example of how that information could be presented to the user, and you could select small data sets because the overall amount of monitoring that's given could be too large. It could be downloaded to hold in memory or hosted in a web database. Here's an example of a DGPS reference station list and how that could be possibly downloaded from the IALA website. The content could be updated by the provider and downloaded by any type of receiver. E-navigation. Now I know Dr. Ward gave you the full definition and Seamus didn't, but I'm going to give it to you again. The harmonised collection, integration, exchange, presentation, analysis of marine information on board and ashore by electronic means. You've heard that all before. The important point here to make that it's the balance between the physical information and the electronic information that will determine the success of e-navigation and how that balance will change. But it's the primary purpose of Aids to Navigation to provide information. The primary aim of the Aids to Navigation service should be to get this information to the user as quickly and reliable as possible. E-navigation involves the effective presentation of all this information, and it's the visual aids which are the backbone of this system. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Malcolm. So, we now have a few minutes for questions, if you have any questions for the panel. Any question? One? Is there one going up there? Is there a question up there? Ah, there's an arm. Can't see you. Microphone is on its way. There you are.
Yes, it's very nice to see those presentations that you have presented and the thought about the contribution of aids to navigation into the e-navigation concept. My question is, seeing all those ideas and concepts and combine it with the terminology L-navigation, have this work been presented or been forwarded to the IMO e-navigation correspondence group as a user needs, or do we have a work to do before IALA do that? Thank you.
Okay. Anybody? Duncan?
I can give a bit brief response rather than a detailed one. The correspondence group appointed and the auspices of the NAV subcommittee was managed through the Department for Transport of the UK government, and a number of us from the IALA committees were represented on that correspondence group management side. So the answer is yes, we were there during the collation of information that the correspondence group were tasked to do, and that they presented to the NAV subcommittee subsequently. So yes, short answer.
Okay, thank you, Duncan. Further questions? We still have a minute. There's one.
Thank you. Stephen Bennett from Oman. In Oman, we have 35,000 fishing skiffs operating off our coast, 35,000. They all rely upon traditional aids to navigation to get home safely. They have no concept, no knowledge, no desire to know about e-navigation. Let's not forget them. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. So, getting back to my original statement there is no future without traditional visual aids. I think that concludes our this half of the session. We will reconvene at 11 o'clock. But before we do that, please remember the 5 copies of the list of delegates, which is out there at the General Information Desk. Please check your details. It will be published in the final report. And also, given the lessons learned here, please, speakers for future sessions, check that your presentations have been loaded properly. Thank you, and see you in half an hour.